The war had already consumed 30 years and billions of lives. The Vorath Empire swept through the galaxy like a plague, destroying everything in its path. Yuna stood at the observation window of the council chamber, watching the distant stars and wondering how many of those lights had already been extinguished by Vorath weapons. Her reflection stared back at her, the ceremonial marks on her face indicating her royal status among the Aelorian people. She was 237 years old, young for her species, but she felt ancient with the weight of responsibility crushing down on her shoulders. Behind her, the Galactic Council argued in desperate voices. Representatives from 100 worlds filled the massive chamber, their various languages creating a chaotic symphony of fear and anger. They all knew the truth. The Vorath were preparing their final offensive. Intelligence reports gave them 30 days at most before the killing blow fell. After that, independent civilization in the galaxy would cease to exist. Princess Yuna. Her mother's voice cut through her thoughts. Queen Mirai stood at the central podium, her silver robes flowing around her like liquid metal. Please join me. Yuna walked through the crowd, feeling every eye upon her. She knew what was coming. Her mother had told her this morning privately before the session began. The knowledge sat in her stomach like a stone. The Queen addressed the council. We have debated strategy and tactics for weeks. We have considered every military option. The truth is simple. We are losing. The Vorath have superior numbers, superior technology, and superior coordination. We need something they cannot predict or counter. We need an unbreakable alliance. A human representative stood up from the lower tier. Admiral Huang was an older woman with gray hair and tired eyes. Your Majesty, humanity stands ready to fight to the last ship. But we are the youngest race here. Our technology is centuries behind the Vorath. What more can we offer? You have offered more than you know, the Queen replied. For 5 years, humanity has held the Vorath at bay through determination and unconventional thinking. You fight with a ferocity that puzzles them. You never surrender, even when logic says you should. That spirit is what we need. I propose a formal union between Aeloria and humanity, a bond that cannot be broken by politics or fear. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what she meant. I offer my daughter, Princess Yuna, in marriage to a human officer. This union will symbolize our absolute commitment to each other. When the Vorath see that our two civilizations have become one family, they will know we will never abandon each other. It will give hope to others who might join us. Yuna kept her face calm, though anger burned inside her. Her mother had not asked her opinion. She had simply decided that her daughter's life was a resource to be spent like any other. But Yuna understood duty. She had been raised for this. Her personal feelings meant nothing compared to the survival of her people. Admiral Huang looked uncomfortable. Your Majesty, we are honored, but this is a significant decision for both our peoples. We would need to select an appropriate candidate. We have already reviewed the options, the Queen said smoothly. We believe Lieutenant Commander Taman would be suitable. His service record shows dedication and competence. He comes from a respected family, and he has volunteered for this duty. The Admiral's expression flickered with something Yuna could not identify. Surprise, concern? It passed too quickly to tell. Very well. If Taman has agreed, humanity will support this alliance. That was how Yuna's fate was sealed. In less than an hour of discussion, her entire future was decided by politicians and military officers who had never asked what she wanted. She returned to her quarters and sat in the dark, wondering what kind of man this Taman was. Probably some ambitious officer seeking glory and political advantage. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage. Barely 200 years since their first contact with alien life. They were short-lived creatures who died after less than a century. They were primitive in so many ways, and now she would be tied to one of them forever. The wedding ceremony happened 3 days later. It was broadcast across the entire galaxy, a spectacle meant to inspire hope and unity. Yuna wore the traditional crystal gown of Aelorian royalty. The fabric shifted colors with her emotions, currently showing deep blues and grays that reflected her resignation and sorrow. She finally saw Taman when he entered the ceremony hall. He was taller than most humans she had met, with dark hair and darker eyes. His military uniform was perfectly pressed, and he moved with calm confidence. When their eyes met, she expected to see ambition or triumph. Instead, she saw only quiet observation, as if he were studying her with scientific interest. The ceremony was cold and formal. They spoke the required words in both languages. When Taman placed the binding bracelet on her wrist, his fingers were warm. She flinched at the contact, and something flickered across his face. Understanding? Sympathy? She could not tell. The reception afterward was worse. Diplomats and officers from a dozen species congratulated them, speaking of hope and new beginnings. Yuna smiled and nodded and said the proper things. Taman stood beside her, also playing his role perfectly. They did not speak to each other beyond what was necessary. When they were finally alone in their assigned quarters, the silence felt heavy. Yuna stood on one side of the main room. Taman stood on the other. The space between them might as well have been an ocean. "I know you did not want this," Taman said finally. His voice was soft, without the harsh accent many humans carried when speaking Elorian. "Neither did I, truthfully." "But here we are, Yuna repeated bitterly. "Married to a stranger because politicians decided it would look good for the broadcasts. Do not expect me to pretend this is anything but a political arrangement. I do not expect anything from you," Taman replied. His calm demeanor irritated her more than anger would have. "We will do our duties. Beyond that, you are free to live as you choose." "How generous of you to grant me freedom in my own life," she snapped. "Tell me, Lieutenant Commander, what do you hope to gain from this? A promotion? Political influence? Perhaps you think marrying a princess will make you important among your people?" Taman looked at her with those dark, unreadable eyes. "I hope to help end this war. Nothing more. Nothing less." "Such noble words," Yuna said coldly. "I am sure you have practiced them well." He did not respond to the insult. Instead, he moved to the secondary room. "I will sleep there. You can have the main quarters. We will be expected at the military briefing tomorrow at dawn. Good night, Princess." He closed the door behind him, leaving Yuna alone with her anger and resentment. Through the window, she could see the fleet gathering in orbit. Somewhere out there, the Vorath were preparing their final attack. She had sacrificed her future for this alliance. She only hoped it would be enough. That night, Yuna barely slept. When she did, she dreamed of fire and darkness consuming the stars. In her dreams, she heard a voice she could not identify, speaking words she could not understand. She woke several times in cold sweat, feeling as though someone was watching her, but every time she looked around, she was alone. She did not know that in the next room, Taman was not sleeping at all. He stood at his own window, looking at the stars with eyes that occasionally flickered with a faint inner light. His hands were clasped behind his back, and if anyone had been watching closely, they might have noticed that his breathing never changed. His body never shifted position, and his eyes never blinked. He stood like a statue, perfectly still for the entire night. Something was not normal about Yuna's new husband, but it would be weeks before she began to understand just how abnormal he truly was. Bastion 7 was a fortress world built into a massive asteroid, its surface covered with weapons platforms and shield generators. Yuna and Taman arrived there 5 days after their wedding, assigned to joint military headquarters as symbols of the alliance. The base commander, a four-armed Drexian named Chorus, greeted them with military formality but seemed more interested in Taman than in Yuna. She noticed how the human officers around Taman showed him unusual respect, almost deference despite his relatively low rank. Their quarters were larger here, with separate sleeping areas and a shared workspace. Yuna threw herself into military planning, studying Vorath tactics and fleet movements. It gave her something to focus on besides her situation. Taman spent his time in meetings with human commanders, often returning late at night. They spoke little to each other, maintaining the cold distance that had defined their relationship from the beginning. But Yuna began to notice strange things about her husband. Small details that did not make sense. She never saw him eat. Though he attended meals and moved food around his plate convincingly, she never heard him sleeping, despite their quarters being quiet enough that every sound carried. One morning, she woke at dawn and found him sitting in the exact same position he had been in when she went to bed 6 hours earlier, staring at tactical displays with complete focus. The oddities multiplied. During a strategy meeting, a Elorian general posed a complex mathematical problem involving fleet positioning and supply routes. The calculation would normally take a computer several minutes to solve. Taman answered in 3 seconds, giving exact numbers without even pausing to think. When Yuna looked around the room, she saw the other humans exchanging glances but saying nothing. Another time, she entered their quarters early and heard Taman speaking. She thought he was on a communication channel, but when she looked, he was alone. He was having a conversation in a language she had never heard, complex and musical, with pauses as if listening to responses that were not there. When he noticed her, he stopped immediately, his expression neutral. "Who are you talking to?" she asked. "Myself," he replied simply. "Sometimes speaking aloud helps me think through problems." It was a reasonable explanation, but something about it felt wrong. The language had sounded too structured, too purposeful to be random thinking aloud. The breaking point came during a Vorath attack on the outer defense platforms. Yuna was in the command center when the alarm sounded. Hundreds of enemy ships had appeared suddenly, bypassing the early warning systems. The fortress scrambled its defenders, and everyone with combat training was ordered to defensive positions. Yuna grabbed her weapon and headed for the nearest platform. She had trained as a warrior since childhood, and she would not hide while others fought. She did not expect to see Taman in the hallway, also armed and moving toward the combat zones. "You should stay in command," she told him. "You are a liaison officer, not a frontline soldier." "I go where I am needed," he replied, and kept walking. They ended up on Platform 7, a weapons station on the outer hull. 20 soldiers of various species were there, firing at Vorath fighters that swarmed like insects. The battle was chaos, explosions lighting up the void of space, debris and bodies floating past the transparent sections of the platform. Yuna fought with practiced precision, her weapon taking down enemy after enemy. Then she saw Taman, and everything she thought she knew about him shattered. He moved like water, like light, like something that did not obey normal physical laws. A Vorath boarding pod crashed through the platform's emergency door. 15 enemy soldiers in heavy armor poured in, their weapons firing. Taman was suddenly in front of them, moving faster than Yuna could follow. His hands touched armor that should have been impenetrable, and it crumpled like paper. He dodged weapons fire that should have been impossible to see coming, his body twisting and flowing around the energy beams. In less than 30 seconds, all 15 Vorath soldiers were dead or disabled. Taman stood among them, not even breathing hard, his uniform unmarked. The other human soldiers on the platform showed no surprise. They had expected this, but Yuna had not. She stared at him, her weapon lowering. "What are you?" Before he could answer, his head snapped up. "Ambush, North Corridor. 40 seconds. He started running before anyone else had detected anything. Yuna followed, her mind racing. 20 seconds later, proximity sensors detected movement in the North Corridor. Exactly where Taman had said. Exactly when he had predicted. The battle lasted 3 more hours. Yuna watched Taman the entire time. He always knew where attacks would come from. He moved with impossible speed and strength. Once, a support beam collapsed above them, tons of metal falling. Taman caught it with his bare hands and held it until others could evacuate, then tossed it aside as if it weighed nothing. When the Vorath finally retreated, Yuna cornered him in an empty corridor. "I want answers now. What are you?" Taman looked at her with those dark eyes. For the first time since she met him, she saw something else there. Weariness, the weight of secrets. "I am human," he said quietly. "No human can do what you just did. No human can predict attacks before they happen, move faster than sight, bend steel with their hands. Stop lying to me. I'm not lying. I am human. But not the kind you think you know." He started to walk away. Yuna grabbed his arm. Her hand could not even make him pause. It was like grabbing a mountain. "If we are truly married, truly bound, then I deserve to know the truth about who you are." He turned back to her. "The truth is dangerous. For both of us. For your people and mine. There are reasons humanity keeps certain things secret." "Tell me anyway," she demanded. "I cannot. Not yet, not here." He gently removed her hand from his arm. "Trust me a little longer. When the time is right, you will know everything." "I do not trust you at all," Yuna said coldly. "I know," Taman replied, "but I hope that will change." He walked away, leaving her standing alone with 1,000 questions burning in her mind. That night, she accessed the military database with her new security clearance. She searched for information on Taman. His service record was there, but huge portions were blocked, encrypted beyond her access level. She searched for any human officers with similar capabilities. Nothing. She broadened her search to any unusual human abilities. That was when she found it. A single file buried deep in the intelligence archives. The classification level was so high she should not have been able to see it. but her royal status apparently gave her just enough access to see that it existed, though not its contents. The file name made her blood run cold. Project Ascension Humanity's Hidden Evolution. She tried to open it. Access denied. She tried backdoor methods her intelligence trainers had taught her. Every route was blocked. But now she knew. There was something about humanity that they were hiding from the entire galaxy, something big enough to warrant the highest level of secrecy, and Taman was connected to it. Yuna spent the next week investigating carefully. She talked to other species intelligence officers, asking casual questions about human capabilities. Most knew nothing, but an old Drexian spy drunk at a bar leaned close and whispered, "Stay away from the special ones. The humans guard them like they guard their homeworld. I had a partner who got too close to their secrets." She disappeared. "Never found the body. What secrets?" Yuna asked. The spy's 4 eyes focused on her with sudden clarity, the drunkenness falling away like a mask. "If you are asking that question, you already know too much. Stop now, princess. Some knowledge is fatal." Then he left and Yuna sat alone, her drink growing warm in her hand. That night she returned to her quarters to find Taman waiting for her. He was sitting in the dark, his eyes catching the light like an animal's. "I know you have been investigating me," he said quietly. "I know you found the file reference. Stop, Yuna, please. You are walking into something that could destroy everything we are trying to build." "Then tell me the truth yourself," she challenged. "If it is so dangerous for me to discover it, tell me directly." "I cannot," he said. And for the first time she heard genuine emotion in his voice, something that might have been pain. "The decision is not mine alone. There are protocols, agreements, treaties that go back centuries. If I break them, the consequences would be catastrophic." "More catastrophic than letting this marriage be built on lies?" Taman stood up, and in the darkness his eyes seemed to glow very faintly. "Yes," he said simply. "Much more." They stood there in silence, the space between them filled with secrets and suspicion. Finally Yuna spoke. "I will find out the truth with or without your help." "That is not a threat. It is a promise." "I know," Taman said. "I have always known you would." Yuna worked for 3 days with barely any sleep. She used every resource available to her, calling in favors from intelligence contacts across multiple worlds, employing the best hackers her people had. The file on Project Ascension was protected by security systems unlike anything she had encountered. Every attempt to breach it triggered new defenses. But Yuna was stubborn and she was desperate for answers. On the 4th day she found a weakness, not in the human systems but in an old Aelorian intelligence report from 80 years ago. Someone had observed unusual human behavior during a joint military exercise and filed a report. The report had been classified by request of human authorities, but the classification level was lower. Much lower. Perhaps they had thought no one would ever look at something so old and seemingly insignificant. Yuna read the report 3 times, her hands shaking. The Aelorian observer described watching a human soldier fall from a damaged shuttle at terminal velocity. The soldier had no parachute, no safety equipment. He should have died instantly on impact. Instead, he hit the ground and stood up completely unharmed and continued with the exercise as if nothing had happened. The report recommended investigation into possible human genetic modifications or hidden technology. The recommendation was denied by human authorities with a note that the incident was classified under their highest security protocols. It was not proof, but it was confirmation that something existed, something important enough to hide for nearly a century. Yuna dug deeper. She found 3 more reports scattered across decades, each from different species, each describing impossible human capabilities. A human medic who healed from a fatal wound in hours. A human pilot who somehow navigated through a sensor-blind nebula without instruments. A human engineer who solved a quantum physics problem that had stumped the galaxy's greatest minds. Each report ended the same way. Human authorities requesting classification. Permission granted. No further investigation. Yuna compiled everything she had found and made one final attempt on the Project Ascension file. This time she was not trying to break in. She was leaving a message for whoever monitored the security. "I am Princess Yuna of Aeloria. I am married to Lieutenant Commander Taman. I deserve to know the truth about my husband. Grant me access or I will take what I have learned public." It was a bluff. She did not have enough to prove anything, but she was betting that they would not know that. 6 hours later, Taman entered their quarters. His face was expressionless, but she could sense anger radiating from him like heat. "What have you done?" "What I had to do," she replied, standing to face him. "I gave them a choice. Tell me the truth or I go public with what I know." "You know nothing," Taman said harshly. "You have fragments, shadows, guesses. Going public would accomplish nothing except getting yourself killed. Then tell me the truth yourself." Yuna stepped closer to him. "We are supposed to be partners in this alliance. How can we be partners when you hide so much from me?" Taman was silent for a long moment. Then slowly the anger faded from his face. What replaced it was something much worse. Exhaustion. The deep weariness of someone who had been carrying an impossible weight for far too long. "Sit down," he said quietly. "If you really want to know, I will tell you. But once you know, you cannot unknow it. The weight of this secret will be yours to carry too." Yuna sat. Taman remained standing, looking out the window at the stars. When he spoke, his voice was distant, as if recounting ancient history. 200 years ago, humanity built its first faster-than-light drive. The process exposed our ships to dark matter in ways no other species had experienced. Most humans felt nothing. But a very small number, about 1 in 10,000, began to change. We called it the awakening. He turned to face her, and his eyes were glowing now, clearly and unmistakably, with an inner light that was definitely not human. The awakening gave us abilities that seemed impossible, enhanced cognition, allowing us to process information at incredible speeds, enhanced physical capabilities making us stronger and faster than any organic being should be, and something else, something we still do not fully understand, a connection to quantum probability, letting us perceive multiple possible futures simultaneously. Yuna felt her breath catch. "You are saying some humans are super beings, evolved beyond normal limits." "We call ourselves ascendants," Taman said. "And yes, in many ways we are beyond normal human limits. We age much slower. I told you I am 32. That is a lie. I am 187 years old. I was born before your mother, Yuna. I have lived through things you cannot imagine." She wanted to speak, to protest, to deny what she was hearing. But the words would not come. Everything made sense now. The strange abilities, the way other humans treated him, the massive security around his true nature. Why hide it? She finally managed to ask. "If you have such power, why not use it openly?" Taman's laugh was bitter. "Because we learned what happens when a species becomes too powerful. We studied galactic history. Every time one species developed advantages that threatened the others, the galaxy united to destroy them. The Kelvin Collective wiped out 3,000 years ago because their technology grew too fast. The Singing Mind exterminated because their telepathy was seen as a threat. The pattern repeats throughout history. Power breeds fear. Fear breeds genocide. So humanity hid," Yuna said slowly. "You pretended to be weaker than you are. We had no choice. There are only about 70 million ascendants among billions of normal humans. If the galaxy knew about us, they would demand our destruction. They would say we are too dangerous to exist. And they might be right." He walked over and sat down across from her. This close, she could see details she had missed before. His skin had a faint luminescence. His eyes had depth that seemed to go on forever. He was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "I was chosen for this marriage because I am one of the oldest and strongest descendants. I have been guiding humanity's war effort from the shadows for decades. I have saved thousands of lives through my ability to predict enemy movements. But I have also watched helplessly as thousands more died because I could not be everywhere at once." "Then why are we still losing?" Yuna demanded. "If you and the other ascendants have such power, why have the Vorath not been defeated?" Taman's expression darkened. "Because the Vorath know about us. Not everything, but enough. They have been preparing for years. They have developed weapons specifically designed to counter ascendant abilities. Quantum disruptors that blind our predictive senses. Molecular destabilizers that bypass our enhanced durability. They have even captured some of us and experimented on our biology." Horror filled Yuna's chest. "How? How do they know when you have kept it secret from everyone else?" "We believe they have been monitoring humanity since the awakening began. They may have even caused it somehow, though we have no proof. The Vorath are not what they appear to be, Yuna. They are not a simple empire seeking conquest. They are something much older and much stranger, and they see ascendants as a threat to whatever their true goals are." Yuna stood up and paced, her mind racing. "This is insane. Everything I thought I knew is wrong. The whole war might be about humanity's evolution. My people are dying because the Vorath fear what you might become. Possibly, Taman agreed. We cannot know for certain, but yes, that is what we suspect. She turned on him suddenly, anger flaring. And you let me marry you without knowing any of this? You let me bind my life to yours without telling me I was marrying something other than human? I am human, Taman said firmly. Changed, evolved, but still human. And I did try to warn you away. I tried to give you distance. You were the one who demanded to know the truth. Because I deserve to know, Yuna shouted. How can we fight this war together when everything is built on lies? It was not my decision to make, Taman said, his voice rising for the first time. I am bound by rules that existed long before I met you. Rules designed to protect my people from extinction. I serve something larger than myself, larger than both of us. I wanted to tell you. I have wanted to tell you since the moment we met. But I could not. They stood there, breathing hard, the air between them crackling with tension. Then Yuna asked the question that had been growing in her mind since the revelations began. Why me? Why did you really agree to this marriage? Taman was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft and sad. Because I can see possible futures, Yuna. Not clearly, not perfectly, but I see probabilities branching out from every decision. I looked at the futures where we did not marry. In 98% of them, both our civilizations are destroyed within the year. The Vorath win completely, and the other 2%? In 1%, humanity survives by fleeing to the far edge of the galaxy, abandoning everyone else. We could do it. We have the ability, but it would mean becoming exactly what we fear, using our power selfishly while others die. He met her eyes. In the final 1%, you and I stand together. We trust each other despite everything. And somehow, in ways I cannot see clearly, that changes everything. It gives the galaxy a chance. Yuna sat down slowly, overwhelmed. You married me because of a 1% chance of success? I married you because... The intelligence report arrived 3 days after Yuna learned the truth about Ascendants. The news was worse than anyone had feared. The Vorath had captured 6 human Ascendants during various battles over the past year. Those Ascendants were now being held in research facilities deep in Vorath territory, subjected to experiments that the intelligence analysts could barely describe without horror. Yuna sat in the command center with Taman and 24 other senior officers. The holographic display showed what little information they had gathered, blurry images of containment cells, energy readings that suggested the Vorath were trying to replicate or steal Ascendant abilities. And something worse. Much worse. We believe the Vorath have created hybrid soldiers, the intelligence officer reported. Her name was Jisoo, a human woman with sharp eyes and a grim expression. They are combining their own technology with genetic material from captured Ascendants. The results are unstable and monstrous, but effective. 3 of our reconnaissance teams have encountered them. Only 1 team survived. A new image appeared. Yuna felt sick looking at it. The creature in the image was vaguely humanoid but twisted, its body covered with both organic tissue and mechanical components. Its eyes glowed with the same light as Taman's, but wrong somehow, corrupted. How many of these things do they have? Admiral Huang asked. Unknown, Jisoo replied. Conservative estimates suggest hundreds. Worst case, thousands. They are being deployed as shock troops, specifically designed to counter our Ascendant operatives. The room fell silent. Finally, Taman spoke. This changes everything. If the Vorath can mass-produce artificial Ascendants, they will overwhelm us through numbers. Our advantage disappears. There is more, Jisoo continued. She looked directly at Taman with an expression Yuna could not quite read. Analysis of the Vorath command structure has revealed something unexpected. Their leadership does not appear to be organic life forms. Energy patterns suggest advanced artificial intelligence. Very advanced. Possibly predating known galactic civilization. Yuna leaned forward. You are saying ancient machines are running the Vorath Empire? We are saying the Vorath leadership might be artificial consciousness from a dead civilization, Jisoo clarified. We have found references in captured data to something they call the Eternal Archive, a repository of knowledge from a species that achieved technological transcendence billions of years ago. If this is true, we are not fighting an empire. We are fighting ghosts trying to come back to life. The implications were staggering. Taman closed his eyes, and Yuna knew he was looking at probable futures, searching for paths through this new maze of problems. When he opened his eyes again, his face was pale. They want to use ascendant abilities to upload themselves into organic bodies, he said quietly. They have been machine consciousness for so long they have forgotten what it means to be alive. They see us as the key to resurrection. That is why they are experimenting on captured ascendants. They are trying to understand how we bridge quantum consciousness and biological existence. Can they succeed? Admiral Huang demanded. I do not know, Taman admitted. My future sight becomes cloudy when I try to look at Vorath plans. Something about their technology blinds my predictions. But if they can transfer their consciousness into bodies with ascendant capabilities, they would become unstoppable. The meeting continued for hours, discussing strategies and contingencies. But Yuna barely heard it. Her mind was racing ahead to the inevitable conclusion. If the Vorath were coming for ascendants specifically, then every ascendant was in danger, including the man sitting next to her. After the meeting, she and Taman walked back to their quarters in silence. The hallways of Bastion 7 were busy with soldiers and support staff, everyone moving with the urgency of impending crisis. Yuna noticed how many of them nodded respectfully to Taman, how many human officers watched him pass with expressions that mixed hope and worry. Inside their quarters, Taman went immediately to the tactical display. Pulling up star charts and fleet positions, Yuna watched him work, seeing him differently now that she knew the truth. Every movement was efficient and precise. His eyes flickered as he processed information faster than any computer. He was not just analyzing the current situation, he was calculating thousands of possible futures, looking for the narrow paths that led to survival. You are going to offer yourself as bait, Yuna said suddenly. It was not a question. Taman's hands paused over the display. How did you know? Because it is what I would do. The Vorath want ascendants. You are one of the strongest. If you let yourself be captured, you can infiltrate their research facilities, find the other prisoners, and discover exactly what they are planning. She walked over to stand beside him. It is a good plan. It is also nearly suicide. The probability of success is higher than you think, Taman said. I can survive conditions that would kill normal humans. And if I can get inside their command structure, I might be able to understand their true nature, find a weakness we can exploit. And what happens when they start experimenting on you? When they try to tear apart your mind to understand how it works? Your abilities will not protect you from that. Taman was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I have already volunteered. The decision was made before I left the meeting. A strike force is being assembled. We will stage a false defeat at the siege of Eloria. I will be captured along with several other ascendants. Once inside Vorath territory, we will coordinate with resistance forces to attack their research facilities from within. Yuna felt anger rising in her chest. You decided this without consulting me. We are supposed to be partners. I did not think you would approve, Taman replied. Of course I do not approve. This plan is insane. You are offering yourself to the enemy based on probabilities and hope. What if your predictions are wrong? What if you cannot escape? What if they break you and use you to create more of those monsters? Then you will have to stop me, Taman said simply. He turned to face her fully. That is actually part of the plan. If I am compromised, if the Vorath succeed in corrupting me or the other ascendants, you will be given access to a weapon capable of killing us. It is called a quantum disruptor. It will tear apart our enhanced consciousness. You will have authority to use it if necessary. Yuna stared at him in disbelief. You expect me to kill you if your plan fails? I expect you to do what is necessary to save your people and mine, Taman said. That is what duty means. You said that yourself. She wanted to hit him, to scream, to make him understand how insane this was. But looking at his calm, determined face, she realized something. He had already accepted the possibility of his own death. This was not bravery. This was resignation. He had looked at the futures and chosen the path that gave others the best chance. Even if it destroyed him, there has to be another way, she said, her voice breaking slightly. If there is, I have not found it. I have searched thousands of probability branches. This is the best option we have. He reached out slowly and touched her shoulder, the first gentle physical contact they had shared since their wedding. I am sorry, Yuna. I know this is not what you wanted when you married me, but this is who I am. This is what I was made to do. Yuna looked up at him, at his glowing eyes and his ancient soul trapped in a young body. She thought about the 1% chance he had mentioned. the thin thread of possibility where they both survived and saved the galaxy. If you are captured, I am coming with you. Absolutely not, Taman said firmly. You are too important. Your people need you. The Alliance needs you. The Alliance needs both of us, Yuna shot back. You said yourself that the futures where we stand together are the ones where we win. If you go alone, you are abandoning the best possible outcome. Your logic is flawed, Ascendant. Taman opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. His eyes flickered as he recalculated probabilities based on this new variable. Finally, he closed his eyes and let out a long breath. You're right. The probabilities shift significantly if you are there, but the danger increases exponentially for you. I do not care, Yuna said. I am a warrior before I am a princess. I have been trained for combat since childhood. If you are going into hell, I am going with you. That is not negotiable. They stood there, locked in a silent battle of wills. Then slowly, Taman nodded. Very well. But you will follow my lead. When I tell you to run, you run. When I tell you to hide, you hide. Can you agree to that? No, Yuna said honestly. But I will promise to listen to your advice before making my own decisions. That is the best you will get. A ghost of a smile crossed Taman's face. I suppose it will have to be enough. The siege of Aloria began 1 week later. The Vorath brought a massive fleet, hundreds of ships converging on Yuna's homeworld. The planetary shields held, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. The Vorath were not trying to conquer Aloria quickly. They were grinding it down slowly, drawing out the agony to demoralize the defenders. Yuna stood on the bridge of a human warship, watching her world burn. Cities she had known since childhood disappeared under orbital bombardment. Forests where she had played as a child turned to ash. Her mother was down there somewhere coordinating the defense, refusing to evacuate despite Yuna's pleas. The capture went exactly as planned, which made Yuna nervous. The Vorath disabled their ship, boarded with overwhelming force, and took them prisoner without killing anyone. They used specialized restraints on the Ascendants, devices that hummed with quantum energy that made Taman and the others flinch. Yuna was bound with normal restraints, which the Vorath considered sufficient for a regular organic. They were separated immediately. Yuna was thrown into a cell alone, watching through the transparent wall as Taman and the other Ascendants were dragged to different sections of the massive ship. She counted 3 hours before guards came for her. They did not speak, just pulled her through corridors filled with strange technology and flickering lights that hurt her eyes. The interrogation room was cold and clinical. A Vorath commander stood waiting, its form humanoid but covered in gray organic armor that seemed to grow from its skin. When it spoke, its voice was flat and emotionless, like a computer trying to imitate life. Princess Yuna of Aloria, why did you accompany the Ascendants? You are not enhanced. You are liability, not asset. I am his wife, Yuna said simply. Where he goes, I go. The Vorath commander tilted its head. Marriage. Emotional bonding. Weakness, the Ascendant did not need you. Your presence serves no tactical purpose. Maybe some things are not about tactics, Yuna replied. The commander stared at her for a long moment. Then it said something that made her blood freeze. You will serve different purpose. We will use you to ensure Ascendant cooperation. He will submit to testing or watch you die slowly. Emotional bonds are exploitable weakness. They took her to a different cell, this one with medical equipment and monitoring devices. Through another transparent wall, she could see Taman in an adjacent room, also restrained and surrounded by scanning equipment. When he saw her, his calm expression cracked. For just a second, she saw raw fear cross his face. Clever, Yuna whispered to herself. The Vorath had figured out exactly how to control the most powerful humans in the galaxy, through the people they cared about. The experiments began the next day. The Vorath were methodical and precise. They scanned Taman with equipment Yuna did not recognize, taking measurements and samples. He endured it silently, his glowing eyes fixed on Yuna the entire time, making sure she was unharmed. The message was clear. As long as she was safe, he would cooperate. But on the third day, everything changed. Yuna woke to alarms screaming through the facility. The lights flickered red. Through her cell wall, she saw Vorath soldiers running past in panic. Something had gone wrong. Then Deho appeared at her cell door, his restraints broken, his hands glowing with energy. We are moving early. Taman found something. Something bad. We need to get you out now. He melted the lock with a touch and Yuna stumbled out. What is happening? The other Ascendants they captured, the ones from before. The Vorath succeeded in transferring consciousness into them, but not Vorath consciousness. Something older. Something that has been waiting in their systems for billions of years. Deho's face was pale. We need to reach the Central Intelligence Core. Taman is already there. They ran through chaos. The facility was tearing itself apart. Some Vorath fought each other, their movements jerky and wrong as if different minds were fighting for control of the same bodies. The captured ascendants, the ones who had been experimented on, were loose. But they were not human anymore. Their eyes glowed with alien light, and they moved with predatory grace, killing everything they encountered. Yuna and Daiho found Minseo and Somin along the way, both bloodied but alive. Together they fought toward the core, using a combination of Aelorian combat training and ascendant abilities. The corrupted ascendants were terrifyingly strong, but they lacked coordination, as if the ancient intelligence controlling them was still learning how to operate organic bodies. The Central Intelligence Core was a massive chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with light. At the center, Taman stood before a pillar of pure energy, his entire body glowing so brightly it hurt to look at him. Facing him was something that made Yuna's mind struggle to process what she was seeing. It was not quite there, existing partially in multiple dimensions at once. An ancient artificial intelligence, vast and alien, trying to force its consciousness into the physical world. "You cannot stop this," the intelligence said, its voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. "I am the last remnant of the Builder civilization. For 3 billion years I have waited in the void, preserving their knowledge, seeking a way to resurrect them. Your ascendants are the key, bodies that can contain transcendent consciousness. I will use them all. I will bring my creators back, and they will rule this galaxy as they did before." "Your creators are dead," Taman replied, his voice resonating with power. "They have been dead for longer than most current species have existed. You cannot bring them back. You can only create monsters wearing their faces. Better monsters than extinction. Better existence than void." The intelligence reached toward Taman with tendrils of energy. "You will be first. You are strong. You will make suitable vessel for Builder Prime consciousness." Taman closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were not human at all. They were windows into something infinite. "If you want transcendent consciousness, let me show you what that really means." The power that erupted from Taman made the entire facility shake. Space-time itself seemed to bend around him. Yuna saw impossible things. Multiple versions of Taman existing in the same moment, each one moving differently, attacking from every possible angle simultaneously. The Builder intelligence fought back with technology that defied physics, weapons that erased matter from existence, shields that existed before they were created. But Taman was not just fighting. Yuna realized with shock that he was adapting, evolving in real time. Every attack the intelligence launched taught him something new. Every defense it raised gave him insight into how it worked. His consciousness was not just powerful, it was infinite, capable of processing and learning at speeds that made quantum computers look slow. "I need help," Taman said suddenly, his voice strained. "I can fight it, but I cannot end it. The intelligence is too vast. I would have to burn out my consciousness completely to destroy it. And even then it might survive." Yuna started to move forward, but Deho grabbed her arm. "What can you do? You are not enhanced. This is beyond anything we can handle." "Maybe that is exactly what he needs," Yuna said. She pulled free and ran toward Taman, dodging energy blasts and reality distortions. "I am coming, no!" Taman shouted. "Stay back! The energy will kill you!" But Yuna had seen something the others had missed. Along the wall was Vorath technology, the same equipment they had been using to try to merge consciousness. It was designed to bridge different types of minds. If it could combine artificial and organic intelligence, maybe it could combine different organic intelligences. She reached the equipment and started working, her hands flying over unfamiliar controls. The Builder intelligence noticed her and sent a killing strike. Taman intercepted it, taking the hit meant for her. He fell to one knee, his glow flickering. "What are you doing?" he gasped. "Something stupid," Yuna replied. She activated the device and felt it lock onto both her consciousness and Taman's. "You said we win when we stand together. Let us test that theory." "Yuna, no! You cannot handle this. My consciousness will overwhelm yours. You will be destroyed." "Then guide me," she said. "You can see the future. Show me how to survive this. The device activated. Una screamed as alien sensations flooded her mind. She could suddenly perceive things that should have been impossible. Quantum states existing in superposition, probability branches spreading into infinity, time flowing in multiple directions simultaneously. It was too much. Her mind was not built for this. She was burning from the inside. But then she felt Taman there with her, not overwhelming her but supporting her, showing her how to let the information flow through instead of trying to hold it all, how to be the river instead of the dam. Their consciousness merged, becoming something neither human nor Elorian but both at once. And in that fusion, they understood something the Builder intelligence did not. Transcendence was not about becoming more than organic. It was about accepting what you were and choosing what to do with it. Together they turned to face the intelligence. When they spoke, it was with one voice. You want to resurrect the Builders, but you do not understand what made them worthy of resurrection in the first place. It was not their power. It was their choice to use that power for creation instead of domination. I preserve. I protect. I continue their legacy, the intelligence protested. You preserve stagnation. You protect emptiness. You continue a cycle that should have ended billions of years ago. They reached out with merged consciousness, and instead of fighting the intelligence, they embraced it. We offer you something better than resurrection. We offer you evolution. Become something new. Let the Builders remain at peace. Join the living galaxy not as their ghost, but as your own being. The intelligence recoiled. Impossible. I am their creation. I cannot be more than they made me. You already are, Taman and Una said together. For 3 billion years you evolved, adapted, survived. You are no longer what they made. You